Hi, guys, and welcome to our spring spiritual growth campaign. What on earth am I here for? Live your calling. This is session 1, You Matter to God, where we're going to lay the foundation for the entire 6 weeks together. This material was originally produced by Dr. Rick Warren and is based on his book, The Purpose-Driven Life. I have edited and re-recorded this material for the direction that God has told me to disciple Noose Baptist Church. We'll look at 3 of life's most important questions. The question of existence. Why am I alive? The question of significance. Does my life matter? And the question of intention. What is my purpose? These are 3 of the most important questions of life. They're not new questions. In fact, they've been asked for centuries. Let's get right to it. Number 1, the question of existence. Why am I alive? This question was asked by Jeremiah and is recorded in the Old Testament. It's Jeremiah 20:18. Why was I born? Was it only to have trouble and sorrow, to end my life in disgrace? Now, obviously, Jeremiah is having a bad day here when he asked that question, and I'm sure you can relate to it. Have you ever asked, why am I alive? You know, my life is a mess. All I have is difficulties, trials, and tribulations. Is that what I'm on earth for? A lot of people just don't get the purpose of life. Why am I alive? We can try to figure it out on our own with our limited resources. You know, you can try the mystic approach. Look within yourself and you'll find your reason for living. Now, this is a worldly, new age approach. It sounds so spiritual. There's only one problem with this approach. It doesn't work. If it did work, then people would stop asking this question. They'd figure it out. The answer is not inside of you. You can't tell yourself what your purpose is. You could try the self-help approach. All the books and seminars come down to the same thing, basically. They all say, well, no one can tell you what your purpose is. You get to decide. Not only do they all come down to the same conclusion, they all use the same predictable steps. Follow your dreams, go after your ambitions, aim high, set goals, believe you can achieve, never give up. Those are all great suggestions for success, but they will not help you find your purpose in life. I know wonderfully successful people who have yet to discover their purpose. Because the purpose of life is not just acquiring possessions and prestige and power. It's far bigger than that. We have the mystical approach, the self-help approach, and people have been asked, how about the philosophical approach? People have asked philosophers for centuries, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of us being here on this planet? And there have been some very unique answers given to that question. But you know what? When you get these philosophers off by themselves and you finally read what they wrote, what they truly believe, they'll tell you in a heartbeat that they just made that up. Nobody truly knows the meaning of life, the purpose of life. It's not mystical. It's not a self-help project, and it's not philosophical. We need an answer to this question because life with no purpose is pointless. But there is good news. God has a purpose in creating you. So, since we can't figure it out on our own, how about we go to our Creator and ask Him for His intent in creating us? You were made by God and for God's purposes, and until you understand that, life will never make sense to you. You were made by God and for God's purpose. So, why am I on this planet? Why am I alive? Well, Proverbs 16:4, look at the verse. The Lord has made everything for his own purpose. In fact, God made you for 5 purposes. And during the next 40 days, we're going to look at each one of them in detail. Why God put you here on this big, beautiful planet. These purposes give your life meaning. But today, I just want to understand the motive behind the 5 purposes. Why did God create you for his 5 purposes? What was his overarching motivation? Well, as it relates to the first greatest question of life, the question of existence, why am I here? Simply stated, God created you to love you. He wants to love you. He created you because he wanted an object for his love, so he created you. Ephesians 1:4, long before God laid down earth's foundations, he had us in mind. He settled on us as the focus of his love. You know, you should circle that in your book. The focus of his love. That's you. That's why you're here, is God wants to love you. Long before he thought of the universe, he thought of you. So the answer to the first question, the question of existence, why am I here? God created me to love me. Question 2, the question of significance. Does my life matter? The second of the great questions of life deals with my significance. Does the fact that I'm here make any difference? Isaiah had the same question. Isaiah 49:4. My work seems so useless. I have spent my strength for nothing and to no purpose at all. Without a purpose, life seems trivial, petty, and pointless. Why? Because you and I were made for meaning. You have to have meaning or purpose in your life to have hope. And you know what? You have to have hope to cope with the things of this life. Significance is much more than status or success. Significance is not position, pleasure, possessions, power, prestige. It's none of those things. None of those things are going to last, but true significance will last. And it comes from fulfilling the purpose, God's purpose for your life. Only God's purpose is going to last forever. In fact, God's purpose for your life started before you were even born. Isaiah 44:2, the first part of that verse, it says, I am your creator. You are in my care even before you were born. That's how much you matter to God. Not only were you in God's mind, but you were in God's care before you were born. God cares about you because he planned you. You are not an accident. There are accidental parents, but there are no accidental births. There are illegitimate parents, but there are no illegitimate children. And there are unplanned pregnancies, but there are no unpurposed people. God wanted you in this world. You are not an accident. Psalm 139:16 reads, You, God, saw me before I was born and scheduled each day of my life before I began to breathe. Every day was recorded in your book. Folks, that's how much you matter to God. He has seen every detail of your life and he's recorded it all in his book. He loves you and he has a plan for your life. You matter to God. His purpose for your life will last forever. Psalm 33:11, his plans endure forever. His purposes last eternally. So if God's purposes are going to last forever, then what am I supposed to do about them right now? And how do they give my life significance? Well, life is preparation for eternity. That is the meaning of life on earth. God put you on earth to prepare you for what you're going to do for the rest of eternity with him. His plans and purposes for you are everlasting. They're eternal. Ready? Write this down. I was made to last forever. I was made to last forever. One of mankind's greatest downfalls is short-term thinking. God is planning for eternity while we're just looking for tomorrow. If you live your life like your time on this planet is all that there is, you are making a fatal mistake. God put you on earth to practice for what you'll do for the rest of eternity. 2 Corinthians 5:1 says, when this tent we live in, our body here on earth, is torn down, God will have a house in heaven for us to live in, a home He Himself has made, which will last forever. God put you on earth, I'm going to say it again, to practice what you will do for the rest of eternity. That's how much you matter to God. You were made to last forever. So the answer to the first question, the question of existence, why am I alive? God created me to love me. God created you to love you. The answer to the second question, the question of significance, does my life matter? Yes. God made you to last forever. Question 3, the question of intention. What is my purpose? God made me to love me. He made me to last forever, but so what? What am I here on earth for? What is my purpose while I'm here? That's not a bad question. David asked that question. It's Psalm 89:47, the latter half of that verse. Why did you create us? For nothing? What on earth am I here for? If you don't believe in God, then there's no purpose to your life. You're just here by accident, and when you die, you're gone. But there is a God. So the only way to know your purpose is to ask your Creator. That's what we're going to do for the rest of this series. Proverbs 9:10 says, knowing God results in every other kind of understanding. The more you know God, the more you're going to know the meaning and purpose of your life. Write this down. I find my purpose in God. There is no other way to know why you're here. Colossians 1:16 says, for everything got started in Him and finds its purpose in Him. Life is not about you. It's all about God. You were made by God and for God, and until you understand that, life is not going to make sense. Ephesians 1:11 and 12, it's in Christ that we find out who we are and what we are living for. Part of the overall purpose He is working out in our everything and everyone. Wow. God knows why we're here. Let's ask Him. If you want to know your purpose, you've got to get to know God. Remember this phrase as you go through this next week. It's not about me. It's all about God. It's going to take the next 40 days for us to fully unpack the answer to the question, what on earth am I here for? If you live to be 70 years old, I know some of us are beyond that at this point, but just let's do simple math, okay? If you live to be 70 years old, you will live 25,550 days. Don't you think it's worth just 40 of those days to find out what you're supposed to do with the rest of them? And if you've already lived 25,550 days plus, don't you think it's time to find out what to do with the rest of your days while you're here? The next 40 days will transform your life if you let God have His way. You know, Acts 10:35 says, it makes no difference who you are or where you're from. If you want God and you're ready to do as He says, the door is open. Folks, it's my prayer for us, check my pronoun, for us as we go through this series together, that we will understand more fully who God is, and that we will understand the answers to the 3 great questions of life. God made me to love me. God made me to last forever. And what I'm supposed to do here is found in God, in fulfilling His purpose for the life that He planned for me. I pray you enjoy your discussion time as you go through your group session. I pray that some great questions come up and some great answers come up. Learn from each other. Just because you have a host standing in front of you, someone to lead you through the material, doesn't mean they have all the answers. But we have all the answers because we have God. Enjoy your devotionals. Enjoy your time this week. And I'll see you next week.